Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Hello and welcome to Neighborhood Unitarian Universalist Church in Pasadena. Welcome to all members, friends, and guests, here in person and virtually. My name is Ellen Rosenblatt, and I am a member of your Board of Trustees. Neighborhood Church creates and grows an inclusive community of faith connected by love, spirit, and service. We acknowledge our presence on the ancestral and unceded territory of the Gabrielina Tongva peoples, the traditional caretakers of the lands and waters of this campus. Today's service is led by Reverend Omega Burkhart, with music by tenor section leader Michael Fausto, Associate Music Director Wells Lang, and the Neighborhood Church Choir. Please take a moment to silence your devices as we begin our service. Sorry. Thank you for joining us as we continue to prioritize connection over perfection in this hybrid service, which is streamed and recorded on YouTube. Families with young children are welcome in the sanctuary or the narthex. And now I have two brief announcements. The Pastoral Care Committee Resource Fair is taking place today on the patio after the service. Also, I'm very excited to announce that tomorrow from 4 to 6 p.m., you can come and meet our former intern and pending ordinand, Angela Jackson. This gathering tomorrow will take place in the living room at Neighborhood House from 4 to 6 p.m. Our order of service and more extensive announcements are available as a link in the Sunday email posted in the narthex or through the QR code at the back of your hymnal. You can always get more information on these and many other activities at the welcome table. Again, welcome to Neighborhood Church, whoever you are and wherever you are on your spiritual journey. Welcome to this inclusive faith community connected by love, spirit, and service. And now, to tell us more about the resource fair happening outside after the service is Sue Erie.
Hello. My name is Sue Erie. I serve as the Pastoral Care Coordinator for Neighborhood Church, and I'm here to talk about our Pastoral Care Resource Sunday celebration today. Pastoral Care is charged with providing short-term services such as meals, rides to medical appointments, and peer support. Our team members and congregational volunteers are actively participating in serving the needs of our church community by connecting in this way, and there are forms outside if you'd like to sign up. We have a big event in the fall for that, but today there are forms and we'd be happy to take your name. We also provide resources for services and information beyond our mission with our community partners' help. This effort goes further than handing out brochures and tote bags and creates a link with our broader community through these caring professional groups. Sharing of information is the main aim of our Resource Sunday, to give you the means to find community resources for support and to introduce you to the many services available in Pasadena area. We are partnering with 5 community-based groups today, including the Huntington Hospital Senior Care Network, Pasadena Village, USC Verdugo Hills Hospital Community Resource Center, the Cancer Support Community, and new to our fair, the Hive, south of Pasadena, which is an arts group. This is the first time we've partnered with an arts group, and I think it's kind of a fun addition to it all. Also, yeah. Also, there's a cornhole game. We did everything today. The Senior Care Network is sponsoring community nurses for today's fair. They will provide blood pressure and blood sugar screenings at their table and are out there now, and they're terrific, and it's such a nice service for them to provide. So introduce yourselves to our partners, collect some brochures, and enter the silent auction for neighborhood swag and signed books by our own talented authors. Also, there are cookies. Enjoy.
This place would be less beautiful without you, writes my colleague Tess Baumberger. This place would be less beautiful without you, Muslim, Christian, Buddhist, Jew, Hindu, humanist, and earth-centered, too. This place would be less beautiful without you, your heart honed by hardship, grief, illness, seeking solace and comfort here among you. This place would be less beautiful without you, filled with joy and gratitude, seeking celebration of life's bounty. This place would be less beautiful without you, curious and inquisitive, asking questions, seeking transformations emerging from within. This place would be less beautiful without you, striving to resist a world that tells us we are so much less than we can truly be. This place would be less beautiful without each of us, born here in this morning to seek heaven's fire in each other's souls, our own flames rising to meet. Come, let us worship together this morning.
Good morning. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our opening hymn, number 1068, Rising Green.
Good morning. I'm Matt Vasco, Neighborhoods Director of Spiritual Exploration. And children and youth, I'm not going to invite you up this morning. This is a very special Sunday. I'm going to do something a little different. But What I need you to do is, I'm going to get to the end of this thing I'm going to say, and then I'm going to ask people to applaud. And I need all of the children and youth to like scream and yell and really applaud as loud as you can. Okay, kids? Okay, I see some nods. Good. This coming week is National Teacher Appreciation Week. And we always take some time during Teacher Appreciation Week to recognize all of the wonderful people with big hearts who volunteer their time in the Children and Youth Spiritual Exploration Program throughout the church year. We are highly grateful for each and every one of you. It takes almost 40 people to make this program happen every Sunday, so we are grateful for each and every one of these wonderful people. Many kind, loving, and dedicated souls volunteered their time in order to be a caring adult in the lives of the children and youth here at Neighborhood Church. I also want to thank the Family Chapel team who helped me make that service happen each and every week. Family Chapel happens on the Labyrinth at 9:30 and continues to be a lovely calling card to young families, and I couldn't have done it without that team. I also want to thank my Lifespan Spiritual Exploration Committee, who meet monthly and serve as a sounding board for me and religious or spiritual exploration assistant, Hannah Peterson, and who also help staff the spiritual exploration table on Sunday mornings. Finally, I want to give a special shout out to our energetic and artistic spiritual exploration assistant, Hannah Peterson, for all she does supporting the program. There she is right there. Philosopher Sidney Hook once said, "Everyone who remembers their own education remembers teachers, not methods and techniques. The teacher is the heart of the educational system." Now, if you have volunteered in the Youth Spiritual Exploration Program this year, serving as a teacher, advisor, or OWL facilitator, or have volunteered in any way in the program this year, will you please stand? So kids, the adults did it without being prompted, but I was going to say, let's give them all a big round of applause, and that was your cue. Thank you. And now let's sing our children and youth out to their spiritual exploration classes.
Each Sunday, our congregation dedicates 100% of its contributions to a 501c3 organization or to a neighborhood church-based social justice activity. And all these activities are making a difference in our community and in the world. Each selected guest organization aligns with our community's mission and values and is nominated by church members who often are longtime volunteers and supporters of these change-making organizations. In addition to placing your donation in the plate, online giving is available using the QR code on the donations box just outside the sanctuary or by using the text instructions shown on the screen. If you wish to make a payment towards your pledge or contribute to church operations, make a note in the subject line or use an envelope available at the donations box. This week, our gifts will support Remainder's Creative Reuse Thrift Store. I was really excited when I read that this week our gifts are going there because I am a very frequent shopper at Remainders. I'm often seen scrounging around the yarn bins, and I've bought lots of beautiful yarn, and so much so that the woman I'm going to introduce recognized me this morning from the store. And now I'd like to bring up Remainder's Creative Uses Assistant Manager Kiki Jewell.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me and Remainders. If you have been to Remainders, then you know the magic that is Remainders Creative Use. If you haven't been there, I encourage you to just come, even if you're not an artist or crafter. It's just, it's a magical place. So the idea of Remainders actually started out in our executive director's garage. She had a lot of crafting materials, and so she was having a weekly yard sale where people would donate their things, and she would sell them out of her garage and do sewing classes. That built so much that she had to expand in 2018 to a brick and mortar. Quickly outgrew that, and in 2020 moved to a 6,000 square foot space on Washington Boulevard. And it has become bigger than any of us could have possibly imagined. We are now a nonprofit creative space and arts and crafts thrift store. We're focused on creative reuse and sustainability. Thanks to the creative reuse model we use in the store, thousands of pounds of usable materials are diverted from landfills because households and businesses donate to us. Last year, we took in 37 tons of donations. And this year, we've already surpassed that number. Our creative space serves as a classroom for classes in everything from sewing to needle felting, and I happen to be the needle felting teacher, but we have classes that cover a broad spectrum of arts and crafts and ages. Teachers are able to source all of their class materials from the donations, and therefore it lowers the cost of these classes. The students just need to show up for the class, sewing class, all the fabrics are provided, the sewing machines are there. So everybody can kind of get their foot in the door and try an art or a craft without the expensive cost. Remainders hopes to inspire people to think about the benefit of upcycling materials and repurposing usable goods. That's really our mission. We want art to be accessible to everyone, and we also want to think about the environment and in a very thoughtful way. So I invite you to come visit me today. I'm going to leave right now and go manage the store. We are open from 11 to 4 on Sundays, and we are open Tuesday through Sunday. So even if you're not an artist, it's just a great place. We have materials for teachers and office supplies, paper. We have all the things. So come check us out. Thank you.
Will today's volunteers please come forward with the plates, and thank you in advance for giving generously.
So this anthem was chosen in recognition of Cinco de Mayo, the commemoration of Mexico's victory over the Second French Empire at the Battle of Puebla in 1862. It's from a collection of songs by Silvestre Revuelta, Mexican composer, and the song is called Canción de Cuna, which translates to cradle song. And the translation goes as follows. Sleep, my blossom, sleep, for the horse of your dreams will not drink. Sleep, my rosebud, sleep, for the horse is beginning to weep. Duérmete, clavel, que el caballo no quiere beber. Duérmete, rosal, que el caballo se pone a llorar. Duérmete, clavel, que el caballo no quiere beber. Duérmete, rosal, que el caballo se pone a llorar. Duérmete, clavel, que el caballo no quiere beber. Duérmete, rosal, que el caballo se pone a llorar. Duérmete, clavel, que el caballo no quiere beber. Duérmete, rosal, que el caballo se pone a llorar. Duérmete, clavel, duérmete, rosal.
Now that Adrian has lulled us into a state of calm and sleep, I'd like to talk about moving the service earlier. Before our reading today, I want to take a few moments and highlight some changes to our service times that will be coming up. If you are on our email list, you saw a message from me on Friday afternoon about our changes in service times, but I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about it in this space as well, so please share it with folks who may not have seen it. Also, if you are not on our email list and you would like to be, you can contact Ginger Fury, our communications person, and she can make sure that you're connected there. So starting on May 19th, that's 2 weeks from today, we switched to one Sunday service at 10 a.m. for our summer schedule, and I think that is a custom here that you all are used to probably if you've been around for a little while. We moved to one service time on Sunday mornings. We don't have family chapel beforehand, and we don't have the full array of spiritual exploration classes, but we will have during the hour of service, during the summer, fun childcare activities for the K through 8 crowd if they would like to join us as well. If you have individual groups that meet, either identity, affinity groups, or otherwise, check with your group members. They may be having the group over the summer or not. That is completely group dependent. Then in fall, when we return to normal service programming after Ingathering, which is 1 week after Labor Day, I don't recall the date actually off the top of my head, but it's always 1 week after Labor Day, so we'll go with that. We're going to continue with one Sunday morning service at 10 a.m. So that is a change for many of you. We will continue to broadcast on YouTube, so for those of you who join us online, we will be online starting in September at 10 o'clock also. Of course, those are archived, so you can watch them at any time. Folks who join online can watch us at 11:30 if they would prefer. We will continue to promote a safe meeting environment here with a mask section as always, and we will also continue to offer the full array of accessibility items that we have here. We find that that is important. Then in September also, we will have our family chapel at 9 o'clock, so it moves a little bit earlier too. So family chapel at 9 and then our regular worship at 10 o'clock. This allows us a little bit of flexibility to create another opportunity for gathering midweek, and I'm very excited about that. What we heard from folks when we had conversations was that contemplative gathering, a lot of folks who come to the 9:30 service, for example, come for a slightly quieter moment of sharing and ritual. We're going to be offering something midweek. We're still working out what the details of that will be like, so pay attention to your emails. Starting about midsummer, we'll be advertising those. And I hope that you hear in all of these diverse offerings that we're going to be trying out in the fall that we have a sense of vibrancy and growth in this community that I really want to highlight. Many of you have said this to me, and I've overheard you say it when we have Sundays where we gather together in one service, that you're excited to see our full community together. So I hope that that feels like it's coming from a place of vibrancy and growth, because it is, and I'm very excited about that. So more information coming soon. In 2 weeks on May 19th, of course, that is the day of our annual meeting as well. So we'll start at 10 o'clock and then the annual meeting will be held right afterwards. Wonderful. Now this morning we are starting a month of exploring what pluralism means for Unitarian Universalism. So I'd like to start off our ponderings with a selection entitled "You Are Us: How to Build Bridges in a Polarized World." This is written by Gareth Gwynn. And he writes, "The polarities of personality often present as victim and oppressor, the haves and the have-nots, rights and wrongs, and other seemingly persistent divisions in our society. These polarities are not the source of this tension, but when we relate with the polarities through a reactionary state of operation, that is, when we operate that way, we can easily divide ourselves along these lines: us and them, the familiar and the other." He goes on to state, when we don't own our wholeness, when we identify too much with something other than our core worth, we collapse into one pole, as in being with or against. This othering process is myopic in that it doesn't take into account that our own wholeness is dependent on reclaiming the alternate pole, the person we think that we are not, the other within us. When we are able to relate with each pole from a place of responsiveness, when we stand in recognition of our own innate wholeness, the experience of polarity can be one of expansion and flow, contrast, generative transformation, rather than division. Once we reckon with the paradox of how the perceived other is both distinct and a direct reflection of us, then we can see ourselves in that mirror. We see everyone and everything as reflecting an aspect of ourself that we get to reclaim. Those we might have judged become guideposts for our own liberation. Our triggers become welcome signs that we have rejected something inside us. The idea that you are either with us or against us is a limiting lens that perpetuates humanity's suffering. The recognition that you are us, that everyone is us, allows our self-love to humanize others into belonging. And thus ends the quote. Now, earlier this week, I had the honor of being invited to give the invocation for the 51st annual Mayor's Interfaith Prayer Breakfast here in Pasadena. For those of you who have attended, which I would imagine is several of you in this room, it's an opportunity for faith leaders, for local government officials, for representatives from various groups to gather in shared purpose. I wrote an invocation that I'd like to share with you here as we explore the topic of pluralism. We gather this morning as a people united, una gente unida, because of, not despite, our abundant, life-giving, and diverse ways of understanding how justice and the divine intersect in our lives. We gather this morning, nos juntamos aquí, a people of faith, una gente de fe, in all of the ways that it is made manifest in our lives. We gather this morning to celebrate and encourage diversity, plurality, and a multiplicity of ways of knowing and experiencing the divine, both as it flows through us and as its sacred force guides us towards the future. Una fuerza sagrada que nos guía hacia el futuro. May our gathering help us ground into the present needs of our community. May it remind us of our accountability to one another here in this room and to those beyond it who cannot be here with us in person. May our interconexión, our interconnectedness, be but one way of the many to make peace in the world and honor the grief of those who are fractured because of fear and loss. May it feed those who hunger physically and spiritually. May it clothe those who want for clothing, and may it be a refuge for those who seek shelter. Que seamos un refugio para los que lo necesiten. May we be a people of action for intersectional justice, una justicia interseccional, for climate justice, for racial justice, for faith and religious justice that centers also the humanness on this here, la Madre Tierra, on this Mother Earth right now.
Our second anthem is Seal Lullaby, and this is a thank you to all our teachers, past and present.
Within the past 7 days or so, members of this community, either folks in this room or perhaps in our larger church community, we have celebrated one or more of the following. Beltane, or Beltania, depending on where you're from, the pagan celebration of renewal and rebirth that signals the beginning of summer on May 1st. And in some Nordic countries, I believe this is also the week that they parade their cows down from the upper pastures. The honoring of the birth of the Buddha, usually celebrated in April or May, depending on your culture and country. International Workers' Day, more of a global celebration, less so here in the United States, although this week it coincided with many protests and folks were making comparisons between the two. For the Star Wars fans amongst us, yesterday was the 4th. You spent the day saying, "May the 4th be with you." And no one here responded, "And also with you." Today is Cinco de Mayo, not Mexican Independence Day, but rather a celebration of Mexican heritage here celebrated in the United States and also in the state of Puebla. And the one I know you're all waiting for today is the celebration of William Ellery Channing's Baltimore sermon given in 1819, a Unitarian forefather of ours, where he outlined his controversial take that Jesus, while being pretty great, his death did not necessarily mean that Christians were saved, but rather being a Christian meant living morally, using logic to interpret the Bible. And in case you're wondering, that sermon was between 2 and 2.5 hours long. I will not be doing that to you today. It is also Jewish American Heritage Month, Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, Mental Health Awareness Month, all very important. Here in this congregation today, we're celebrating teachers, and next week, mothers. Your calendar is full of celebrations. That's all before we reach the halfway mark of the month. Unitarian Universalism is a complex faith where the religious and the spiritual often intertwine with the secular. And my hope is not to belittle, my desire is not to make fun of any of the celebrations I mentioned, but rather lift up how our coming together here, our coming together in person, is really about bringing our whole selves into this space. Everything that informs us, how we have been taught to be in the world, our experiences, our wonderings, the aspirations that we have, all of the spiritual concerns and questions, affirmations of belief, rituals that are important to us. What I hope that we are all bringing also is the awareness and then the intention and love that others are doing the same thing. We are bringing ours, others are bringing theirs. We are, after all, a people of faith, built on pluralism. And we're here to celebrate that. And also to push the boundaries a little bit about what that means to be in a community where we covenant to honor that. We covenant to love and we covenant to support each other, even if we don't agree on the particulars. Now, this month, as we explore pluralism, I'd like to highlight the language that is being proposed as part of the Article 2 updates on pluralism. As a central value of Unitarian Universalism, the language reads this way: we celebrate that we are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. We covenant to learn from one another in our free and responsible search for truth and meaning. We embrace our differences and commonalities with love, curiosity, and respect. As an aspect of this language that I think helps us consider pluralism, I'd like to highlight the word diverse in that statement, We are all sacred beings, diverse in culture, experience, and theology. It's only one of many aspects that are important to pluralism. For many of us, I suspect, and I also do this, we assume that pluralism only means diversity. And while that's partially true, diversity isn't the goal. Rather, diversity is the outcome of creating a vibrant space of mutual support where people want to be. So to illustrate this point, I'd like to give a few examples. And the first one is found on a common bumper sticker. In fact, it's common enough that it wouldn't surprise me if some folks here have it. I don't mean this in any way of a condemnation of this bumper sticker. Rather, I offer it as an example for us to start this conversation about what it means to be a pluralist faith. So the bumper sticker I'm referring to is a version of the bumper sticker that says coexist. Perhaps you've seen it. Each letter is formed by the religious symbol of a different group. Now, there's another version of that bumper sticker that says tolerance, where the T is a Christian cross, the O is a peace sign, the A is the Star of David, and so on. And I think that we can all agree that the word tolerance is important, and I understand the sentiment of that bumper sticker. I read it as a call to create a world where we live peacefully with each other, no matter how we identify. But what if we lived beyond tolerance? What if instead of merely tolerating, we celebrated, we lifted each other up, we supported each other to be the best versions of ourselves and of each other we can be? What would our community be like? What would our church community and our world be like? Instead of tolerating, we supported each other mutually with the divine purpose of making each other flourish. Now, this is what we are called to do as Unitarian Universalists. I do believe that, but I also see how we struggle with some of the same polarizations that the rest of the world does. We are no different. We are people, and people do people things everywhere. We are not immune to creating the other that confronts something about ourselves. The othering process is myopic, states Gareth Gwynn. It doesn't take into account our own wholeness is dependent on reclaiming the alternate pole, the person we think we are not, the other within us. When we're able to relate with each pole from a place of responsiveness, when we stand in recognition of our own innate wholeness, the experience of polarity can be one of expansion and flow and contrast and generative transformation rather than division, he states. I also think, these are my words, that along these same lines, tolerance implies a hierarchy. It implies where the other is less than, or the other has more power over us, and we have to just live with it. This wholeness and transformational world that we aspire to can exist when diversity, as a result of vibrant community that is attractive and safe and courageous, where mutual support fosters growth in others, where justice and equity are part of the equation. In other words, in this aspirational world, others are not merely tolerated. They are recognized, supported, and celebrated, just as others and the parts of ourselves that we might not like so much, we also honor, recognize, and support. It is in that form that true pluralism will prevail. And most importantly, this needs to be a continual process, because as folks gather who are new to the group or leave, our group changes. Our understanding of ourselves changes. Angel Kyoto Williams, who is a Buddhist teacher and sensei, states it this way: inclusivity is not how do we make you a part of what we are, but how do we become more of what you are? I am reminded of the famous, to some of you, beautiful and really quite impactful piece written by Unitarian Universalist minister Forrest Church, entitled Cathedral of the World, that was published shortly before his death in 2009. Now, this piece has become tremendously important. Many of you have read it. It actually forms part of our Tapestry of Faith curriculum to understanding what Unitarian Universalism is. And I'd like to talk about the piece of writing, but I do want to offer it with an asterisk that is important for accountability. I want to add a disclaimer that is important. He was a misconducting minister when he served at All Souls in New York City. And for this reason, I and many of my colleagues, when we talk about his work, if we cite it, we put an asterisk next to it to honor that there may have been people who were harmed by him. I offer this writing to show the complexity of us as people, that we can celebrate a piece of writing and also honor when the person perhaps didn't behave in the best way possible. I'd like to move to the piece of writing. In Cathedral of the World, he uses the image, Reverend Church uses the image of a light-filled cathedral to demonstrate the beauty of religious pluralism. And I'd like to share a piece of this writing. If you're not familiar with it, it can be found online. He writes, "Above all else, contemplate the windows. In the Cathedral of the World, there are windows without number, some long forgotten, covered with many patinas of grime, others revered by millions, the most sacred of shrines. Each in its own beautiful way. Some are abstract, others representational, some are dark and meditative, others are bright and dazzling. Each window tells a story about the creation of the world, the meaning of history, the purpose of life, the nature of humankind, the mystery of death. The windows of the cathedral are where the light shines through. Because the cathedral is so vast, our time is so short, and our vision is so dim, over the course of our pilgrimage, we are able to contemplate only a tiny part of the cathedral, explore a few apses, reflect upon the play of darkness and light through a few of its windows. Yet by pondering and acting on our ruminations, we discover insights that will invest our days with meaning. A 21st century theology based on the concept of one light and many windows offers its adherents both breadth and focus. Honoring multiple religious approaches, it only excludes the truth claims of absolutists. That is because fundamentalists claim that the light shines through their window only. Skeptics draw the opposite conclusion. Seeing the bewildering variety of windows and observing the folly of worshipers, they conclude there is no light. But the windows are not the light. They are where the light shines through. Thus ends the quote. Now, I confess that I, as a lover of sacred space, and how the divine, however we understand it, how that divine light of the Spirit of life flows through those windows, that image really resonates with me. The pluralism of the windows that filter this light is a metaphor for pluralism of experience of the holy or the divine. It is as effective as it is beautiful. It inspires awe and reverence for me, in an aspirational sense, just as the high windows in a European Gothic cathedral do. And when I read that piece again recently, and I thought about that metaphor, I also realized that it's a metaphor for the opposite of pluralism for the same reasons. Does this metaphor resonate for those for whom the cathedral is not a symbol of the divine? It's not within their cultural understanding. For those of us who have complicated relationships with the church, and I mean the church with a capital C. For those of us who question hierarchy, the up and downness of power of divinity represented in those unattainable windows. For those of us who find the sacred in the mosses on the rocks and the raindrops on flower petals, the caterpillar. Or those of us who prefer the stillness of the temple or the softness in the air as we sit in quiet meditation. I want to be in a world where we all have access to those windows. And I want to be in a world where we help each other tear down the walls when the walls are separating us from the divine. I want to be in a community where pluralism is not just defined by tolerating others and their views, but where difference is respected and cultivated, because from curiosity of difference, we grow. I aspire to be part of a community where we covenant to support one another because we are different, not despite our differences. And this is not easy. This is not easy. For some of us, it may come naturally in some areas of our lives and not in others. Especially now when the polarization of the world feels like it's compelling us to take sides every single day. For now, perhaps, we just set a goal to be curious about one small thing. One small thing that we might feel judgment about, but that gives life to someone else. And maybe that's all we can do for today. We can be open to learning and supporting that one small thing. Perhaps we can note if our curiosity turns to tolerance, or perhaps we turn to being dismissive, and then become intentional again about returning to curiosity. We aspire to live in a world where love is centered because, not despite of our differences. I truly believe that, where we engage with flexibility of mind and heart to empower others, and we empower ourselves, where the pluralism that is inherent in our world is celebrated too within these cathedral walls. Because this place would be less beautiful without you here, curious, inquisitive, folks who ask questions, seeking transformations emerging from you. This place would be less beautiful without you, born here in this morning to seek heaven's fire in each other's souls, our own flames rising to meet. May it be so.
Our closing hymn is number 1008, When Our Heart is in a Holy Place. Please rise in body or in spirit and join in singing our closing hymn.
Praise
When I woke this morning and saw that it had rained, I changed my benediction. Sometimes that happens. I offer you this poem from E. E. Cummings. I thank you, God, for most this amazing day, for the leaping greenly spirits of trees and a blue true dream of sky, and for everything which is natural, which is infinite, which is yes. I who have died am alive again today, and this is the Son's birthday. This is the birthday of life and of love and of wings and of the gay great happening, illimitably earth. How should tasting, touching, hearing, seeing, breathing, any lifted from the no of nothing, human merely being, doubt unimaginable you? Now the ears of my ears awake. Now the eyes of my eyes are opened. May it be so.